What if a single moment of kindness could change the course of your life and the life of someone you never expected to help? The Manhattan air was sharp with autumn's bite, swirling leaves across the cobblestone streets of the Upper West Side. Angela Bennett sat at an iron-wrought table outside La Belle Epoque, a bistro where the elite sipped wine and whispered deals. Her plate of truffle risotto had gone cold, her thoughts drifting to a place she rarely visited. A decade-old wound that throbbed quietly in her chest. At 38, Angela was a titan in tech, her name etched in Forbes' lists, her auburn hair and piercing green eyes a fixture in boardrooms. But tonight, she was just a woman, alone, staring into the city's restless pulse. "Ma'am, could I have your leftovers?" The voice was raw, scraped thin by hunger and shame. Angela's gaze snapped up to meet a man standing at the edge of her table. He was tall but hunched, his face gaunt beneath a scruffy beard, his hazel eyes bloodshot yet piercing. His jacket was frayed, his boots mismatched, and in his trembling arms he held a baby, barely a few months old, wrapped in a faded blanket. The infant's whimpers cut to the hum of the street, and Angela's breath caught. She stared, her fork frozen midair. The man's eyes held hers, not with entitlement, but with a desperate plea, as if he'd staked everything on this moment. The baby, Emma, she'd later learn, stirred, her tiny face pale, her cries frail. Angela's heart lurched, a memory flashing unbidden. The sterile beep of a hospital monitor, the doctor's words, "I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat." She blinked it away, forcing herself back to present. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice softer than she meant. The man swayed, his knees buckling. Before Angela could react, he crumpled to the pavement, clutching the baby to his chest. Gasps rippled from nearby tables, but no one moved. Angela was on her feet in an instant, kneeling beside him. The baby's cries sharpened, and Angela's hands shook as she gently pried her from the man's arms. Emma was impossibly light, her body shivering against Angela's warmth. "Call an ambulance." Angela snapped at the waiter hovering nearby. He fumbled for his phone, dialing with unsteady hands. The man stirred, his eyes fluttering open. "Emma," he rasped, his voice barely a whisper. "Don't take her." "I won't," Angela said, her voice fierce with a promise she didn't fully understand. "She's safe." The ambulance screeched to a stop minutes later, its red lights painting the street in eerie pulses. Paramedics loaded the man, Jake Larson, as Angela overheard, onto a stretcher. He was dehydrated, malnourished, and teetering on the edge of collapse, but his eyes never left Angela, as if she were his only tether to the world. Emma, still in Angela's arms, had quieted, her tiny fingers clutching Angela's scarf. At St. Luke's Hospital, Angela sat in the waiting room, Emma asleep against her chest. She could have walked away. She should have. Her life was ordered, controlled. Penthouse, private jets, a schedule that left no room for chaos. But Jake's eyes haunted her, and Emma's weight in her arms felt like a second chance at something she'd buried long ago. The miscarriage that shattered her 10 years prior had left a void no success could fill. She tried to move on, but the ache lingered, a ghost she couldn't outrun. A doctor approached, her expression guarded. "You're with Mr. Larson?" "I found him," Angela said, hesitating. "He collapsed outside a restaurant. I don't know him." "He's stable," the doctor said. "Exhaustion, dehydration, some minor infections. The baby's underweight, but otherwise all right. They've been on the streets for a while." Angela's grip on Emma tightened. "Can I see him?" In a small, sterile room, Jake lay hooked on 4, his face still pale but less hollow. When he saw Angela with Emma, relief flooded his features. "Thank you," he said, his voice stronger but rough. I thought I'd lose her." "What happened to you?" Angela asked, sitting beside him. She didn't mean to pry, but the question slipped out, driven by a need to understand the man behind the desperation. Jake's gaze dropped to his scarred hands. "I was a pediatrician, almost. Final year of med school. My wife, Sarah, got sick, ovarian cancer. It was fast. I dropped out to care for her. She died 6 months after Emma was born. I tried to keep it together, but medical bills, no job, no family. We ended up on the streets." I've been failing Emma ever since. Angela's throat tightened. She knew loss, knew how it could unravel a life. You're not failing her, she said. You're here. You're fighting. Jake's laugh was bitter. Fighting? I'm begging for scraps. A question burned in Angela's mind, one she wasn't ready to voice. What if I could change that? It was reckless, but the idea took root, refusing to let go. Against every instinct, Angela made a decision that would upend her world. She brought Jake and Emma to her penthouse, a sleek expanse of glass and marble overlooking Central Park. The space had always felt too large, too empty, but now, with Emma's soft coos and Jake's quiet presence, it began to feel like something else. She set up a guest room for Jake and a nursery for Emma, ignoring the voice in her head that screamed this was insanity. She didn't know Jake. He could be dangerous, a liar, a threat, yet his eyes, those haunted, honest eyes, told her otherwise. Jake resisted at first, his pride a battered but stubborn thing. Why are you doing this? He asked one night, standing in her kitchen as Emma slept nearby. You don't owe me anything. Angela poured tea, her movements deliberate. Because I see you, she said. Not the man on the street, the man who'd die for his daughter. I know what it's like to lose everything that matters. Jake's jaw tightened, and he looked away, his emotions raw. You don't know me, he said. I could be trouble. Then prove you're not, Angela replied, her gaze steady. Days turned into weeks, and a fragile rhythm emerged. Angela hired a nanny to care for Emma during the day, freeing Jake to search for work. She used her connections to get him interviews in the medical field, though his lack of a degree and years on the streets made it tough. But it wasn't just about logistics. Angela found herself drawn to Emma, spending evenings rocking her, singing lullabies she hadn't sung since her own dreams of motherhood died. The pain of her loss lingered, but Emma's presence began to heal it, stitch by stitch. Jake, too, began to change. The hollow look in his eyes faded, replaced by a spark of hope. He enrolled in night classes to finish his degree, studying late into the night at Angela's dining table. But he couldn't shake the feeling that he was a charity case, an intruder in her perfect life. And yet, watching Angela with Emma, he felt something deeper, a longing he wasn't ready to name. The world, however, had no patience with her story. A tabloid photographer caught Jake leaving the penthouse with Emma in a stroller, and within hours, the headlines erupted. Tech Tycoon Secret Charity Case, or something more. The media frenzy was merciless, painting Angela as everything from a saint to a schemer. Blogs speculated wildly. Was she buying a family? Was Jake a con artist? The paparazzi stalked them, snapping photos of Angela at work, Jake at school, even Emma at the park. Social media turned their lives into a circus, with hashtags like #AngelaSavesHobo trending alongside crueler ones. Angela was livid. She held a press conference, her voice like iron. I saw a father and child in need, she said, cameras flashing. I acted. If that's a scandal, then this world's got bigger problems than me. Her defiance only stoked the fire. Jake, already wrestling with his own doubts, felt the pressure crushing him. I'm dragging you into the mud, he told her one night, his voice thick with guilt. You don't need this. Emma and I should go. Angela's eyes blazed. Don't you dare, she said. You're not a burden. You and Emma are, she faltered, searching for the word. You're home. The word hit Jake like a punch, and for a moment, neither spoke. He wanted to believe her, but the world's judgment and his own shame made it hard. Yet when he looked at Emma, now giggling and healthy, he knew he couldn't walk away. A question for you, reader. What would you do if your kindness was twisted into a scandal? Would you fight or would you hide? If this story grips you, please like and subscribe to follow their journey. Your support keeps their tale alive. Just as their lives began to settle, a letter arrived that shattered the calm. A lawyer representing Sarah's estranged parents, the Evelyns, contacted Jake. Sarah had left a trust fund for Emma, $2.5 million, locked in escrow until now. But the Evelyns, a powerful Connecticut family, were suing for custody, claiming Jake was unfit to raise Emma. They painted him as a vagrant, a failure, ignoring his years of sacrifice for Sarah and Emma. Angela was stunned. She'd grown to love Emma as her own, and the thought of losing her was a physical pain. Jake was a wreck, tore between the promise of financial security and the terror of losing his daughter. The Evelyns were ruthless, their lawyers digging into Jake's past, unearthing every mistake, a dropped-out degree, a brief arrest for loitering, even his recent collapse. Angela hired a top-tier legal team, pouring her resources into the fight, but the strain was relentless. Then came the twist no one saw coming. During a deposition, the Evelyns' lawyer revealed a bombshell. Sarah hadn't died of cancer. She'd been poisoned, slowly, deliberately, by someone close to her. The case was old, ruled inconclusive, but the implication was chilling. The Evelyns themselves might have been involved. Jake was floored, his grief for Sarah reopening like a wound. Had he missed the signs? Had Sarah's family hated her choice of him so much they'd killed her? Angela dug deeper, hiring a private investigator to unearth the truth. The PI uncovered a trail of payment from the Evelyns to a shady doctor who'd treated Sarah, but the evidence was circumstantial, too weak for court. Still, it fueled Jake's rage, pushing him to fight harder for Emma. "They won't take her," he told Angela, his voice shaking. "Not after what they did." The custody battle became a war, each hearing a brutal clash of wills. Angela stood by Jake, but the toll was heavy. Late one night, after a devastating court session, Jake's resolve broke. "I'm poisoned," he said, tears streaming. "Sarah, Emma, I ruin everyone I touch." Angela took his face in her hands, her voice fierce. "You're not poison," she said. "You're the man I'm fighting for, the man I love." The confession hung between them, raw and undeniable. Jake's eyes searched hers, and for the first time, he let himself believe her. "I love you too," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Then fight with me," Angela said. "For Emma, for us." The custody case reached its peak when the Evelyns played their dirtiest card. They leaked a fabricated story to the press, claiming Angela bribing Jake to play along with her charity stunt. The headlines were vicious. Millionaire mogul buys homeless man's child. And the public turned on Angela with a vengeance. Her company's stock dipped. Investors called for her resignation, and even her closest allies wavered. The pressure was crushing, and for the first time, Angela doubted herself. Had she been naive? Had her heart led her astray? Jake, seeing her falter, made a choice that nearly destroyed them. One night, he packed a bag and left a note. "I'm sorry. Emma's better off without me. Thank you for everything." He took Emma and vanished, intending to disappear to spare Angela further pain. Angela found the note at dawn, her heart shattering. She refused to let him go. Using every resource at her disposal, private investigators, tech contacts, even hacking into city cameras, she tracked Jake to a rundown motel in Brooklyn. She burst into the room, finding him cradling Emma, his face etched with despair. "You don't get to run," Angela said, her voice trembling with anger and love. "We're in this together. All of us." Jake broke down, sobbing as he clung to her. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I thought I was saving you." "You save me every day," Angela replied, holding him tight. "Now let me save you." With Angela's relentless support, the tide turned. Her legal team exposed the Evelyns' lies in court, proving the bribery story was fabricated. The PI's findings about Sarah's poisoning, while not enough for criminal charges, swayed the judge, painting the Evelyns as manipulative and unfit. In a gripping courtroom climax, Jake took the stand, his voice steady as he spoke of his love for Emma and Sarah and the woman who'd given him a second chance.